And welcome back to my channel for another video between two pretty damn good players from Korea. In the top corner here we have SH on the top right corner, and he's up against DoEJuly, who's playing under the name Mysophobia. Let's get the interface all fixed up, hiding the things we don't need and showing the things we need specifically. DoEJuly is playing on the blue Terran on the spot that I already mentioned before, the top middle spot, and SH is playing the orange Protoss on the top right corner. And I have casted the replay between these two players before, somewhere a couple of weeks ago. It is a Terran, a Protoss against Zerg. SH was playing the Protoss, and now he's playing the Protoss again. And DoEJuly was playing the Zerg, and now he's playing the Terran. So the matchup is in favor of SH, and we'll see whether DoEJuly has a better chance of winning on Terran than he did on Zerg, because on Zerg he did a strategy build that was honestly kind of weak, and it mostly came down to, if I remember correctly, he mispositioned his Hydralisks somewhere where they shouldn't be, knowing that drops would be coming out from SH. So he moved his units into the front, although they should have been closer to his main so they could intercept shuttles. And he got storm dropped, not once, but twice. And all because he mispositioned his Hydralisks towards the front, even though there was no direct pressure coming from the front. That's, if I recall correctly, that's how the game went. But it's already like 6 weeks ago, so I might be completely wrong. I hope he keeps his units in a better position this time around. So here is an SFE scouting already. 3 barracks being thrown out for Mysophobia, which one has already finished. I'm going to call him DoEJuly, it's way easier to pronounce. DoEJuly, or maybe it's Do. I don't think it's Do, I think it's DoEJuly because of the way the language works in Korea. Here's SH, started off with a Nexus and the Forge and the Gateway and a quick choke, but a quick choke already got scouted really early on by Mysophobia. Mysophobia attacking. And he gets forced off. And damn, I'm having a deja vu. I'm having a real deja vu moment now, because this looks really familiar to me. But the probes that SH sent out forced the Marines off. I'm gonna really quickly check whether I've actually casted this replay before or whether I have not. I should have checked this before picking the replay. I mean, I did check it, but maybe I messed up somewhere. And double casting replay? Oh, that would hurt. Most specifically would hurt me. Alright, so these Marines being placed out here in the front, while SH is just happily, steadily throwing down a third Nexus. Before his cybernetics core, 2 gas have been thrown down. DoEJuly is still on the process of adding on barracks. He's throwing down extra barracks very early into the game. He's going for a 6 barrack build. He's planning on being very, very, very aggressive here. He's not gonna let SH do as he wants. So he's gonna go for 6 barrack Marine pump. This is very risky though. If this fails, he's got no economy to fall back on. If this works though, you'll be able to do a lot of damage to SH. But SH is gonna find those Marines there in the front because the Zealot is gonna scout them. But it will limit the amount of information SH has. SH now positioning his Zealot in such a way that it gets through. Now these Zealot Marines there will intercept it, so SH does not have the information that DoEJuly is going for an offensive build. So that's working out in DoEJuly's favor. So DoEJuly's strategy might in fact work right here. So 12 Zealots, Self-Marines there in the front, 4 medics, but SH is being very safe. He's not cutting any corners. He knows that there is an option that DoEJuly might be going for the aggressive build here. So he's throwing down an extra cannon, and he's even throwing down a gateway there that will make it harder for the Marines that DoEJuly has to attack these cannons directly. Because only a couple of Marines can get into these little chokeholds there on the side. And this is blocking most of the Marines out and away. So that's already a good start for SH, setting himself up for success. This is a really, really greedy build from SH. SH, 3 Nexus, already on 4 gas. And now he's throwing out more gateways, preparing himself for the offense. preparing himself to start being offensive and aggressive himself. No extra command centers have been thrown out for DoE just yet. There's a single turret being thrown down now. And an engineering bay flying in, scouting. And I just checked on my channel and there is no replay between these two players other than the first one I did. So I have in fact not casted this game before, so we're safe on that end. We're safe on that end. A lot of medics there, a lot of marines as well. He's gonna have to attack sooner or later because Dark Templars are gonna be out, and Dark Templar is actually coming out at the exact right time. There's no scan for Mysophobia. Mysophobia did not go for a +1 command center. So this attack from Mysophobia is going to completely and absolutely bomb. It's going to fail hard because these Dark Templars that SH is throwing out are the perfect and correct answer to DoE's attempt at aggression. And now instead, DoE, he does have a lot of units, but economically he's pretty far behind on SH. This Dark Templar is getting spotted out by the turret. Another turret being thrown on the other side. DoE pulling his units back quite a bit. This Dark Templar there in the front, just staying there to prevent DoE from moving out and trying again. And there's still another Dark Templar in the base to prevent him from doing it anyway. Even if he does manage to get through, this Dark Templar right there already thrown down 2 command centers because he knows he has to recover his economy really, really quickly. And in my honest opinion, he could stop producing marines here because he already has a lot of marines out that could fight against SH, because SH does not have that much, and DoE knows that SH does not have that much. So no need for more marines. There's 2 factors being thrown down. He really needs a scan. He really needs more turrets around his base because the Dark Templar is going to slow down his progression with building and adding onto his base. It's now hunting SCVs, stopping those SCVs from finishing those buildings that he needs. Factory got slowed down a little bit. There's a machine shop being added on right now. There's a Terran starport being thrown in as well. 1 command center is finished. The other command center is seconds away from finishing. There's a scan already under construction. This Dark Templar is still hammering away at units. SH is controlling it really well. Now more Dark Templars are streaming in. Killing turrets is there on the side, preventing DoE from spotting them out. But this scan is mere seconds away from finishing, and will give DoE the chance to stim in and scan those Dark Templars. He scans Dark Templars, he runs his marines with the stim into the Dark Templars. Dark Templars managing to get out. 3 of the Dark Templars went down, but there's still 1 alive there on the side. But the second scan is finished. He scans the Dark Templar and now stims and kills the last Dark Templar. So in the end, DoE gets slowed down, but he keeps the damage that he receives to a minimum. His front, however, is still wide open. SH is going immediately into carriers. He's completely avoiding the ground forces. Only a single cell that has been made for him in this game. And no actual drop has been produced as of yet. And storm upgrade is on the way though. But Dark Templars are not being warped in. SH economy is absolutely booming. He's got 73 probes very early into the game, and he can start adding onto his base very, very quickly now and build up a massive base. You could even say he's underspending at the moment, as he's only building his base with a single probe, but he's got carriers on the way, and DoE has not scanned SH base, so he doesn't know that the carriers are on the way. But he has prepared himself quite well for whatever is going to come, because he's got a lot of marines around, spread out all around his base, and he's slowly adding on and building onto his base. And actually, as I was mentioning, I said he didn't have a drop yet, but there is in fact a drop here on the left side of the base that I missed flying out. I should pay more attention. Another shuttle coming flying in here on the side. Flies in, but is it a distraction drop? Force DoE to focus on that one. Another storm drop comes in. He gets a bunch of Templars out there, and he kills 6 SCVs with his double storms, but the storms mostly miss. As DoE pulls his SCVs off of the minerals and stays alive, albeit 40 workers behind on SH. So SH will be able to ramp up really, really quickly. He will spike at around the 12-minute mark once he has all those carriers out. This is the first wave. Around 12 minutes, he will have a second wave of carriers out. He's got upgrades almost finished for air interceptor capacity on the way, seconds away from finishing. And drop number 2, ready to fly in. There are no distraction zealots in those shuttles, so this drop might end up not flying in all the way because there's a lot of Marines there, ready to intercept, and the Marines do intercept. Really quick double stim on 2 groups from DoE, focusing down both shuttles individually. Really good and quick move from DoE, but DoE now only has Marines to fight against these carriers. But he does have enough Marines in total to fight against just 5 carriers. More carriers are on the way. Ground units now also being produced. There is no choke for DoE. DoE only has a couple of tanks out. He is expecting more drops, but more drops are not going to come. Actually, one more drop might come out, but no Templar is being warped in for SH. SH has now 9 Stargates, and he's going all in on carriers here. So that will be about 10 carriers combined with ground mass of Zealots. And I assume he's going to attack from the side and from the front at the same time. And unless DoE plugs up this hole here in the front, it might actually end up working. Because DoE is, as I said before, still quite small. Only have 48 SCVs against 90 probes from SH. Only 5 barracks on the ground. Carriers have been revealed because he tried to kill this engineering bay. And I think it might have been smarter for SH not to reveal his cards just yet. Because now that he's revealed his cards, DoE can start producing an answer, and he's already started constructing more starports so he can build raids against those carriers. And the second wave of carriers just finishing up, but that makes it a total of 7 carriers, which is not that high. And honestly, I think the Marines that DoE does have will be able to stim down most of those interceptors. But that is if these Zealots coming in here through the front don't deal damage to these Marines. If most of these Marines stay alive and these Zealots get prevented from dealing damage to those Marines, then DoE will be able to stay alive against these carriers for now, because it will give him enough time to start producing raids. And SH being very smart, focusing down the turrets here on the other side, pulling Marines away from the carriers here. But most of the interceptors have gone down already because there's just so many Marines being stimmed up, and the Marines are also on 0-0 upgrades, so not really dealing extra damage. He's got a lot of Marines. He should have upgraded them. If you're going for that many Marines, having upgrades is really essential because you're relying on those Marines. And the enemy will have upgrades out. I can't see how many upgrades he has because he's making interceptors there. I want to see how many he has, but for ground he is on 0-2-0. So I assume for air he's almost on 2-2-2. As I assume that he would have lined those upgrades up at the same time. Yeah, he's on 2-2-2 for his air against 0-0 Marines. And these raids are also on 0-0. Raids on 0-0. No Goliaths coming out. He's going for the raids into the carriers. And there is, in fact, no observer for SH. Right now a drop comes flying in. DoE sees the drop. DoE tries to focus down the drop. He stims all his Marines. It ends up just being a bunch of Zealots being dropped on top of the Marines. There's a Templar out here on the side. Storms up in the Marines. Another Templar there. Gonna storm more Marines. But now the raids are taking down the carriers because there's no observer. Raids chase over the hill. End up within the cannon vision. End up getting detected. End up getting taken down. Going back in. But the cannon still can detect them from that distance. So the raids do end up going down. But DoE stays alive for yet another round. DoE now also has Corsairs there in the mix. Corsairs are amazing against raids. So those raids will end up going down very, very quickly. Like paper planes being burned up by fire. I really want to see DoE go for Goliaths here because I think Goliaths are the correct answer. Because once those Corsairs are out, raids become way less of a viable option. And just gonna drop some more Zealots on the low ground there, but ends up doing nothing at all. DoE still going for raids. Raids balling up. He's got most of the upgrades that he needs on the way. 0-0-0 still. 3-3-3 for air is almost finished for SH. And I actually think SH will be winning off of having those 3-3-3 upgrades because he's on 9 carriers now. Corsairs hunting down the raids, raid retreating. Raids immediately go down to the Corsairs. The Marines are barely focusing on the Corsairs, but the Marines are also barely doing damage because the Marines are on 0-0 upgrades. This is really, really poor optimization and focus from DoE. He has amazing control here, but he's leading no damage whatsoever. Look at how slowly these carriers are going down. There's like 30 Marines there on the low ground, all focusing the carriers, but the carriers barely taking any damage at all because of the upgrades. And the command center went down at the same time. Now a storm drop is flying in. He storms on the SCVs, but misses the first storm, hits the second storm, but ends up killing only about 9 SCVs in total. Most of the ground units that DoE had have gone down. He went from 180 supply down to 120. Please make some Goliaths. Stop making the raids. The Corsairs are absolutely destroying your raids. This is really, really poor unit choices from DoE. Ooh, this is a bad game from DoE. I don't often call something a bad game, but this is a really bad game from DoE. He should have not gone for those raids because he had already seen those Corsairs out from SH. And the raids just absolute garbage into Corsairs. He should have gone for Goliaths right away, or maybe Valkyries. Oh, but it's mostly the upgrades that he's lacking. If he had ground upgrades for those Marines, if those Marines had been on 2-2, he would have been able to kill so many of those interceptors really quickly and not have lost his most essential buildings and his pretty much his entire mass. And now he's too broke to replenish his mass. Carriers coming in. I assume this is going to be the finishing move because he gets a beautiful storm off on those SCVs. Only 35 SCVs left out of the 70 that he had. Templars eventually do end up going down, but that storm was absolutely crucial in finishing off DoE because there's absolutely no way imaginable that DoE is going to make it out alive. His next attack will be fatal because SH already has an Arbiter out. And once an Arbiter cloaks all those carriers, it's going to be very, very difficult for DoE to keep hanging on. Frontal attack is now also streaming in. Salads coming in through the front. There's nothing to defend the front. So the front is absolutely going to go down because all the tanks are in the back, Marines are in the back, and there are definitely not enough units for this. Not enough units for DoE to fight this off. He's got a couple of Valkyries, but the Valkyries lacking upgrades. They're on 1-1 against 3-3-3 air. And the ground is on 1-3-1 now. So he even has ground upgrades, and DoE decides to tap out, and he gets completely wiped pretty much, in my opinion. This is a complete wipe. It is a slow wipe. Took 17 minutes for SH, although we have to subtract the first 10 minutes of build-up into the carriers, so it was a 7-minute wipe. Pretty much the moment SH hit his carriers out, he was just completely dominating DoE because DoE had no upgrades on his ground, even though he invested all of his minerals into ground. Which really has me puzzling whatever DoE's thought process was, because this was just a complete wrong choice. On every single front, he was building up really well and quickly. He was, macroing really well, but completely had his priorities in the wrong places. And SH proves himself to be superior, while being a player with 150 APM less than DoE. His choices and decision making is way better. Way better. Yeah, thanks for watching this one. Hope I didn't sound too critical of DoE there. But I do think he deserves the criticism for this game specifically because the choices were just so poor. And I hope you learned something from it as well. Do not make this exact same mistake that DoE made. Keep information on your enemy and adapt to the correct unit choices in response to what the enemy is doing. Don't do things that are weak, basically. Goodbye.